the notorious robbery that eventually led to the universal popularity of the Mona Lisa. The development and creation of a person involved in stealing Vincenzo Peruggia was, as it happens, not a seasoned or professional criminal by any means. Instead, he was merely a modest Italian house painter who, quite by chance, happened to be working in the bustling and cosmopolitan city of Paris. He was born in the quaint and charming town of Demenza, Italy. In 1881, seeking greater opportunity and the security of a stable job, he made the significant choice to relocate to France, where he actively sought out employment, while simultaneously harboring an intense and abiding passion for the extensive and varied cultural legacy of his beloved homeland. His job at the famous Louvre Museum, where he worked as a handyman, granted him an invaluable and intimate knowledge of the museum's complex inner workings, a type of information that would ultimately prove to be of absolute importance to the success of his bold and brazen plan. His motive was deeply driven by a sense of patriotism that burned strongly within him. Peruggia strongly believed that the Mona Lisa, a landmark and cherished piece of artwork, had been unfairly removed from Italy during the strife-torn years of Napoleon's governance and should be returned to its rightful position within Italian heritage. For him, this was not a simple act of theft or crime. Instead, it was a valiant quest motivated by a powerful sense of national pride and responsibility. The method involves careful and meticulous planning. For months on end, Peruggia devoted himself to a close examination of the patterns of the security used at the Louvre. He was most familiar with every corridor which spanned the sprawling museum, observing and learning the routine of every single guard to the tiniest detail, and every possible exit that might be used in a time of desperation. The famous Mona Lisa was on full public display in the salon, a certain gallery to which he was already very accustomed through prior work in keeping and managing the museum's core structures. The painting, though famous and familiar to many, had not yet attained the level of a worldwide icon that it would eventually reach in the years to come. It was simply hung on the gallery wall, protected by the very bare minimum of security precautions available. Peruggia understood the idea that the best robbery is one that appears incredibly simple and easy to carry out, almost as though it could not possibly be an actual theft at all. The plan he came up with was admirably straightforward and simple. Use and fully exploit his role and function as an employee in a museum environment. Choose a particular day when the presence of security personnel and measures will be at a minimum. Use his vast knowledge of the layout and organization of the museum's setup. Develop a plan for an escape route that seemed quite ordinary and unexceptional in its general makeup and features. The execution. It was on Monday, August 21st, 1911, that the professional art thief Peruggia set in action his well-designed plan that he had been devising for a while. It was a typical day at the world-famous Louvre Museum, where the great majority of the museum employees, as well as the visiting public, were totally unaware of the daring and audacious robbery that was to take place right before their eyes, unknown to all those present. While the museum was preparing to close for the day, Peruggia waited quietly in a corner. He was very familiar with the inner rhythms of the building and knew exactly the moments when the staff and visitors' attention would be least focused on what was around them. Wearing his worker's white smock, which was a common uniform that made him all but invisible to the people around him, he walked calmly into the salon. In a move that would soon be considered nothing less than legendary, he unapologetically reached up and snatched the famous Mona Lisa directly from the wall on which it had been showcased for so long. The painting itself was quite small, only 30 inches by 21 inches, making it easier than expected to hide and transport without drawing excessive attention. With clever fingers, he quickly dismantled the frame that encompassed the piece and cleverly slid the canvas into the pockets of his smock, where it would be safely secured while he committed his act of audacity. Then, in a quite astounding twist of fate, he just walked right out. The great escape in its aftermath for over 2 years, the Mona Lisa's disappearance became a global sensation. The museum was embarrassed. Paris was in shock. The theft transformed the painting from a respected artwork to a worldwide phenomenon. Peruggia painstakingly hid the painting, keeping it out of view in his Paris apartment, where he had carefully wrapped it and placed it in his closet. He waited patiently for the day he felt he would finally be acknowledged and honored as a patriotic hero. A man who valiantly brought a stolen masterpiece home to Italy, where it belonged. The arrest was made. In December of the year 1913, Perugia felt it was time to put his plans into action. He traveled to Italy and contacted an art dealer in the lovely city of Florence, making his offer to return the renowned painting of the Mona Lisa to its rightful home. The art dealer, recognizing the value and importance of the painting, immediately took action and contacted the authorities to report this turn of events. On December 10th of the year 1913, a man named Vincenzo Perugia was arrested by the police. In a show of adamant defiance, he firmly expressed that his reason for pilfering the famous painting was a patriotic duty born out of inner conviction. "I adore my Italy," he told the police officers who were on hand. "I desire to return her to me own country," he passionately declared, showcasing his affinity to the land of his origin. The unintended consequences, which later developed initially, the Italian people viewed Perugia as a hero. Though he was jailed for his crime, the sentence he got was relatively mild, a mere 1 year and a total of 15 days. Then the painting traveled through several places in Italy, mesmerizing people, before being finally returned to the Louvre, where it had now become an international sensation. Legacy, ironically, Perugia's theft did more to promote and increase the popularity of the Mona Lisa than all the centuries of artistic admiration and appreciation it had previously received throughout history. Prior to the occurrence of this notorious theft, the painting was indisputably a very respected piece of artwork, loved and admired by art enthusiasts and dedicated aficionados. Yet following the theft, the painting became an international icon of art, eventually reaching the pinnacle of being hailed as the most famous and recognized painting in the world. The Mona Lisa's value skyrocketed to unprecedented levels previously unknown. As a direct result of this extraordinary incident, the nature of security for art treasures and masterpieces was permanently and radically altered, to an extent that changed the way they were guarded. In an ironic twist of fate, Vincenzo Perugia, a common house painter, fueled by a sincere patriotic aspiration, inadvertently staged what would become one of the most notorious and renowned art robberies in history. Historical note. While this narrative is based on real historical events that occurred,